Thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, November 25th Indigenous Global Unity Summit event. It is our 25th event, so 25 on the 25th. So we always start each of these broadcasts by acknowledging those who came before us on this land. So I will say a land acknowledgement. So today we begin by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on here in the Greater Toronto area, where I am located, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We would also like to acknowledge the land we are on as the meeting place of two treaties, the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We would thank them and all other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So today, let me just start again by sharing my screen. So I have a standard PowerPoint presentation. So I haven't looked at the This is not seeming to work. Zoom slideshow. Huh. Come on. Okay, I'm going to stop the share just for a second here. See if I can get this to work without the sharing. Sorry, some technical difficulties here. My PowerPoint seems to be broken. Huh. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. So it seems like I might have to have the presentation without the full screen. Something is broken in PowerPoint today. Okay, sorry about that. Let me try again. So share my screen. Screen one. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see this slide? I'm hoping.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
It's very strange. I don't know why it's actually covering up now my talking notes. I've never seen it do this. Sorry about that. I wanted to start today. Sorry for being a little bit different this time around. Usually it goes a little bit smoother than this. But I wanted to start this presentation again today by giving recognition to our supporters, in particular, EDFU Foundation. But this logo, as you can see here, also shows various different partners, Maui Aloha Project, 5 Points Youth Foundation, Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Andrew Networks, Future Lift Foundation, Global Women's Development Network, Global People or Global Peace Let's Talk, Community Development Foundation, American International Education Federation, and many more. So our sponsors, I would like to say as well today, mention the EDFU Foundation as our primary sponsor supporting the Global Unity Network initiative through to May 26, 2022. And although EDFU sponsors this platform, it's Andrew Networks that donates the actual hosting and promotional support services that we're using, where EDFU supports transforming the world through sustainable development, Agenda 2060 or 2030. EDFU Foundation has also partnered with several individuals, organizations, companies, and tribes around the world in order to help the world achieve equality and to heal. Andrew Networks, being a brand and domain name owned by RXTC Export Trading Company, comprising social media channels, including Facebook pages, TRN TV, International News, the Universal Citizens Media Networks, conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., the AJ Action Team, and the Encounter Think Tank Group. So I would like to put in as well into the chat some information about these organizations. If I can pull up the chat. Boy, this seems to have completely changed in my desktop. Everything is rearranged. I'm not used to this setup, whatever has happened. So I did pin some information about EDFU, the website as well, into the chat, along with some information about RXTC, our host today. So Andrew, who's on the line with us, also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, actually, with focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during the decade of action and delivery on the SDGs, which is right now 2020 to 2030. Andrew later appointed me as Ad Hoc International Advisory Board representative for Canada, the Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries. Later, Turtle Island was added. So this year, that was originally published in January 1st, 2020. So you can see information again about the link to find out more about this network, which I should be showing next screen as well. So I am Lloyd Hofferty, the CED, or the Chief Ecosystem Director and Program Development Director, Sustainable Society Consultant for Energize University. I'm here in Canada, even though Energize is in New York, Manhattan. Energize University being a private company that was created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance to their local environments. Energize does this by designing and implementing projects to support a strong, diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities, especially in the areas of renewable energy, high density food growth systems, and systems for managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. So Energize is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies they employ. Importantly, Energize University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So I will put my own information into the chat here, some link to my website on Energize University, email, and cell as well, which you can connect to me on WhatsApp. So We are as well affiliated with a group called v20211125 Global Cooperation Turtle Island, which I'm a co-founder and administrator. Samson, could I ask that you mute yourself? Thank you. So we are the Global Cooperation Turtle Island Organization, international civil society organization. We're seeking to undertake what's called life value peace education in the context of what we call life learning gardens. So again, on the screen you'll see a link. Put that in the chat as well. So the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. I am a Goodwill Ambassador, as I mentioned, for the 5 Points Youth Foundation, which is based in Los Angeles. I have a portfolio that covers Canada, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. So the Goodwill Ambassadors are seeking to empower our communities to engage with Royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives who are seeking to leave no one behind. So I want to as well put in some information about Ad Hoc International Advisory Board mandate to register 10,000 non-businesses, SMEs, into the UN Global Compact. This is really important for us to do. So we have a partnership for doing this to really mobilize and empower these members so that we can balance out the power of the corporations. So the Global Unity Business Group, of which I am also a co-founder, came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow what we call the Global Unity Network. So this group, I will provide a few descriptions of what is the Global Unity Network, including an update near the end of the slideshow. So the Global Unity Business Group itself is what we call a humanitarian enterprise and a global sustainable and regenerative development corporation supporting and promoting the local delivery of the open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as the Life Learning Gardens, along with the hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the VCN, or Interchange for Peace. So the Global Unity Business Group created in order to formalize this process of localization of the global goals that the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors is promoting, starting with the SDGs, of course, which are being done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, which includes a Unity Gardens Network and a Unity Learning Network, along with a Unity Health Network, Unity Finance Network, and Indigenous Global Unity Network, along with many other dedicated Unity networks, being all important components of our network of networks that comprise the entirety of the Global Unity Network. So the Global Unity Network created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with, of course, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, with our goal being to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm is very much focused on making money or extracting wealth from those who already are wealthy. Therefore, the majority of people on Earth are mostly being left behind, ignored in our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is really on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are most food insecure. So the Global Unity Network is promoting delivery of what we call practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals. During this SDG period until 2030, we use tools of what we call Humanitarian Entrepreneurship. We're focusing on what we call FFHE, which are female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises. We use a virtual or a hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training learning program. The primary focus being, again, on the humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in practical settings, what we call practicum learning, leveraging various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions remotely to assist local interfaith neighborhood and business collaborative teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all the local communities around the world. So these Unity Garden classrooms are set up in conjunction with existing schools and in the local communities can be used for the local delivery of these practicum learning programs for those FFHE to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, trade, various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, or even internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity for all the people on all the continents, with the intention of leaving no one behind. So with this, the creation of the Global Unity Network is at the same time promoting our work through a virtual social marketing system for all of the members of the network. So we're using these practical social media networking and trade tools of the modern fourth industrial revolution. And we combine this with the deep indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and our living indigenous people of this earth in order to share the abundance of this planet, learn from each other in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we might live, in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention really is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, and thus ensuring abundance for all, and ultimately restoring the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So the Global Unity Network uses this virtual collaborative network, the VCN hybrid learning model, so delivering it through both the Unity Gardens, so these physical spaces for hands-on experiential practicum learning, as well as through this digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of individual websites into a single site. So a collaborative portal that allows for all of the digital virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where the e-commerce also takes place. So basically it's an all-in-one platform for trade, for commerce, for learning, bundled into a single place. Uses a digital collaborator engine, as it's called, intended to turbocharge the networking and exchange and trade and the education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's alternatively called a PXN, or Partner Exchange Ecosystem. But basically, it helps organizations in 6 areas, especially digital transformation around leadership, strategy, customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and health check analysis for different organizations that become members of the platform. So we believe that this VCM platform is very powerful, can be used to help every organization become an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them to move beyond the current health pandemic. So the transformational networking tools are really being designed to change the trajectory of performance. So organizational health as well as the other crucial value-adding element around capabilities, which are really related to the hard and soft skills needed to help organizations reach and sustain their full potential. So the VCN really intended to be a stepping stone toward this new vision for the internet called the metaverse. There's other names for it I've heard recently, which has a lot of attention recently, of course, with the renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which refers, of course, to the metaverse concept. So, and into the chat, I just put a little bit of information about what is this metaverse idea. So the Global Unity Network, of course, it is being managed by a business group. The Global Unity Network geographically is helping to create what we call localized country, regional, and continental UnityNet local business development networks that serve to manage the local and community networks. So the regional and continental Unity Network organizations, they organize themselves according to the concepts and principles of what we call sociocracy. So they assist these communities in each country to establish basically what we call local and regional community engagement teams called INBCs, or Interfaith Neighborhood and Business Collaboratives. So the primary purpose of both the business and the network is to promote, of course, the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors process of localization of the global goals, specifically by promoting processes that also help local communities to establish the partnerships as per SDG 17, Partnership with the Goals, that support local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. So again, into the chat, I just want to mention a little bit about sociocracy as well, provide a reference to that. So continuing on the Global Unity Network, our purpose, our goal really is to support and uplift through the delivery of learning programs, so the practical hands-on education and training, and promote all of the youth and female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement these replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, of course. So we focus on regenerative solutions, which can be localized one community at a time, starting with the least developed countries, communities, and economies, by working with the people that have been most forgotten and marginalized, with the intention, again, of leaving no one behind. So our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes the economy. And so if we can lift people from poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. So the goal really of the Global Unity Network is uplifting the bottom billions. Our ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way. When we think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and you'll feed him for a lifetime. Really, we're taking that philosophy. The Global Unity Network is about teaching, especially women and youth, how to fish, so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So we focus on promoting and demonstrating only open source solutions as well, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure, set up as what we call Unity Garden classrooms at and especially with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools, etc. So the Unity programs we're supporting and work in partnership with the Unity programs of the Unity Network, organizations that have been established, continue to be established around the world, especially now in Africa, to deliver projects, campaigns, and events, such as Trees of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment shows and events, along with these Indigenous Global Unity Summit series events, like we are in right now. This takes place again until Africa Day next year, 2022. And we are also in the future going to be working to create some what we call coordinated international bubble fun festivals. So we're working in support of the expansion of the Global Unity, the Global Women's Development Network as well, which you can see mentioned on this slide is a very important partner for us moving forward. So I want to mention the Life Learning Gardens As noted, we're supporting and promoting the delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure. We call these life learning gardens, designed for the delivery of hands-on practical learning programs supporting all manner of life value peace education. So the 5 solutions we've chosen are what we call CSV gardens and victory forests, climate smart kitchens, spark learning centers, so climate smart education and training centers, and wheel of life farms and farm schools. Some are in more advanced stages of development. Some have never been actually built before, but are on paper. I guess you can say on paper, but in the design stages. So the projects that we do include what we call sacred site and watershed mapping, a CTP program or collaborative tree planting initiative for twinning communities. We go beyond just twinning as well. As well, we do collaboration for the development of a system of payments for ecosystem services using digital tokens of exchange for certified climate smart products that help to permanently sequester carbon and that are made by these humanitarian enterprises that are helping to implement the global solutions or the local solutions to achieving the global goals, starting, of course, with the SDGs. So other key campaigns include a dream boards in every community campaign to establish local community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth and help turn their dreams into reality, as well as what we call a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and to get to know each other as people. So the idea being really to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss these local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people in each of our own local communities. So the people who participate would also discuss the kinds of teas they like to drink, what healthy foods they like to eat while drinking those teas, and what unique teas they actually grow in their own local communities or region, and that are important especially for their local people and cultures. So coming back, I wanted to mention the Unity Network Africa as our first continental Unity Network development network. So Africa and Diaspora is the name, intended to be a safe space also for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop a continental network for all of the people of Africa and for eventual replication across all other countries worldwide, starting again with the least developed countries, communities, and economies. The initial board of directors for the African Continental Network is listed on this slide, but the board of directors has also confirmed an official advisory board that includes Jeppy Motlong from South Africa, Peter Ngara from Kenya, Andrew Williams Jr., chairperson of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors here in the USA, Nancy Bamoy and Sylvia Kircha Bangura, who are from Sierra Leone, along with Samson Oluk. I gotta get that name right eventually. The country chairperson of Tukitane, Kenya, who helped to start the original UnityNet Africa group discussion back on September 23rd. There's also on the advisory that are Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone as the first new continental president, working with Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria in West Africa as the new vice continental president. So Sierra Leone, important to us because it's actually one of the oldest Global Unity Network chapters, along with Kenya. But in Sierra Leone, there are now 10 trees of peace and reconciliation already planted in communities across the country, which serve as a precursor for the creation of the local INDCs and the establishment of the Unity Garden classroom infrastructure. So the new boards of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was put together in a way to try to represent the 6 regions of Africa. You can see this is being done as per SDG 5 as well, gender equality with the selection process made, an attempt to achieve gender balance at the board of directors of the African Unity Network by ensuring that about half the board members and leaders were women. So the team is now working in cooperation with the existing Global Unity Network country chapters in Africa to create a model for the development of a continental and regional network of networks of the Global Unity Network by working with the grassroots people in the country chapters. So once a model is developed, they'll try to replicate the process of creating country chapters across all 55 African nations, possibly also by liaising with the African Union. But the African success will not just be for Africa, it will also be for other continents and countries as well worldwide, where we'll focus our efforts, as always, on the least developed countries, communities, and economies, or the LDCCs, or LDCCEs, as we call it, and those communities that are being furthest left behind. So I wanted to mention, or drop into the chat as well, some information about this concept of leaving no one behind. So the social media of Unity Gardens is shown on this slide. We're having discussions among the leadership of Global Unity business operations here in the Greater Toronto area, especially about how we can link the North American, Turtle Island, and African agendas across time and space, and to link our programs together in a way that makes sense for everybody. So we're developing what we're calling a reverse CTP program, modeled on the original CTP program developed by Drada Markham, actually in late 2019. So the business group has its home in Canada, but with strong support and involvement also from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the United States. I would also like everyone on this call to consider joining one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the Global Unity Network social media discussions that have been created in the Global Unity Business Group, which is, of course, the Humanitarian Enterprise Global Sustainable Regenerative Development Corporation, supporting promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure, set up of these like Learning Gardens or Unity Gardens. So again, into the chat, I will put in the link to the main public group along with the Unity Gardens network links, which is a very important group for us. We have also a Unity Gardens WhatsApp discussion group. So this next slide here is starting to show some of the important nodes of the network. I'd like to mention some critical nodes, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, which was first created earlier this year. The Unity Learning Network, the Unity Health Network, the Unity Eco Village Network, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, as well as the Unity Environment Network and the Unity Biodiversity Network. So in addition, we're also developing even more nodes in our network, including a Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, a Smart Communities and Cities Network, a Social Business Network, a Climate Smart Tourism Network, supporting and aligning with the Tourism for SDGs mandate, along with the Women and Feminists Network for our humanitarian entrepreneur business owners and managers to exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among themselves, and a number of other critical networks and nodes that are being developed. So again, I will put into the chat some links, especially to sort of the top level groups like the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, as well as groups like the Unity Health Network, which are all just shown here iconically as icons. So the map I showed last week for the first time. It's a little bit complex, but the Global Unity Network has a very specific focus on one specific area of development, which is hybrid, virtual, and hands-on practical education and training in the context of and for regenerative development solutions, for which we intend to assist people in local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of each of the 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions in their own local communities in collaboration with the existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will at minimum be able to address 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, but in other words, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 13, Climate Action. But we're also building a global network that cuts across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship learning. So as people relate to the implementation of the various local solutions for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, they can relate those even to different specific things around climate smart food and other regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond the Sustainable Development Goals and hopefully into a new era of regenerative development, however that might ultimately be defined post 2030. So we're just starting the conversation now. We're about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to the next phase of the global goals post 2030, where the SDGs are now just the second phase of a 1,000-year Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind. And where the larger Millennium Development Goal project really intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. And that is actually represented on the side of this slide by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the graphic in the corner, which I am again putting into the chat so that people can take a closer look at that. So on this seemingly complicated graphic, you'll see the Unity Network Africa and Diaspora, the very first continental chapter of the Global Unity Network. The continental chapters being created in order to facilitate the establishment of the country chapters of the Global Unity Network on the specific continent or geographical jurisdiction where the continental chapter has responsibility, where we have already established on so many country chapters, especially with Kenya and Sierra Leone and Nigeria and so many others now, which are being created in order to facilitate really the establishment of those local INBCs, the interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives, at the local level in each community, which is the level where we are leveraging our unique process of community engagement. So through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, the ceremonies, the coordinated public fun festivals, in future, of course, which will be created and done in collaboration with the Greater Unity Network members and the various PodNet cooperative members as well. So we have, again, the CTP program for twinning communities for activities such as community organized tree planting and other local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects and events. The Tea Diplomacy Initiative, which will be fully defined moving forward, but as I described during this ongoing IGU Summit series, as well as the Dream Boards Initiative, which are also to be more fully defined in collaboration, especially with the C4 group members, along with identification of and engagement with local talent, especially artists and creative people in the Orange economy, for the purpose of promoting and showcasing talents, local talents who are promoting the globalization of the global goals and the regenerative economy during any one of the periodic Summit Spectral events. So any other programs and activities that may be developed in the context of the CSV Gardens, which are delivered by an organization called FBSC here in Canada, along with the Victory Forests, also delivered by FBSC, the Climate Smart Kitchens, which are delivered by an organization called Kindred Kitchens, the Wheel of Life Farms, delivered by an organization called EPWT, or ESRLA in Vietnam, with links to the US, and the Spark Learning Centers, or Climate Smart Learning Centers, delivered by the PodNet Co-op, which is a global organization based out of Iceland. So I wanted to note as well, the Unity Gardens of the Global Unity Network encourage co-learning and intercultural collaboration as well. And this is what we also call two-eyed seeing. So the Unity Gardens are places where children are taught that no one is being greater than the next, that we are part parcel of the whole, that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system, and an understanding that all of the world's species, including all of our bio and eco kiln, have contributions to make. So I wanted to show as well the two-eyed seeing, or a two-up monk guiding principle for intercultural collaboration. So I am putting this website into the depth of this concept. So before I move on to the summary, I have one additional slide that I added for our most recent updates. So I wanted to mention, again, the Global Unity Network focusing on a smaller scale, community-based and regenerative solutions that can be implemented by smallholders and local communities, including in rural areas as well as in cities or urban areas, and where the process of the Global Unity Network or the programs of the Global Unity Network are also focused on initial and ongoing community engagement for the development of local partnerships to establish and maintain the local INPCs, as well as for establishing regenerative infrastructure, both the digital and the hands-on classrooms that will allow for efficient and widespread delivery of the learning programs of this practical education and training of these open source solutions for achieving at minimum both SDG 2 Zero Hunger and SDG 13 climate action at the local level, especially for those who are most marginalized in each of their own local communities. So our local team here in Toronto is establishing what we call the global or the Greater Toronto Area Unity Network, UnityNet GTA, through a partnership that's being developed through, again, the We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, or CSO, in order to create an Indigenous Global Unity Network that will deliver programs for practical reconciliation with Indigenous communities and their allies around the world for the purpose of healing our planet, restoring biodiversity, and ensuring social integrity one community at a time. So by looking through the lens of implementing the various solutions for achieving the global goals locally, starting with the local implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, of course, during this UN decade on ecosystem restoration, 2021-2030. I'm going to put in that link. I think this is probably the first time I have mentioned this very important initiative, what is going on, and where we will really want to start with the development of the Greater Toronto Area and Canadian urban food and farming, which will focus on the development of a local regenerative climate smart food supply chain ecosystem here in the GTA, by first establishing a virtual urban farming network for the various local smart and fair trade products that will be certified as regenerative climate smart, and which at minimum can help us to tackle SDG 2, of course, Zero Hunger, and SDG 13, climate action, one meal at a time. And where our intention really is to also, of course, leave no one behind as we locally implement a new regenerative economy, but not only here in Canada, but also around the world. And this is done through these partnerships, again, as per SDG 17. So here in Toronto, I am in discussion right now with 3 important teams about our CTP program. In particular, we're talking to the city of Mississauga, with some discussions also with the city of Markham, where I'm living. We're also talking to a university in Pakistan, and as well, of course, the continental president of the Unity Network, Africa and Diaspora, and Sierra Leone. Since UnityNet at Sierra Leone is further ahead of the rest, because they have already planted the 10 trees of peace and reconciliation in their local communities across the country, where again, the CTP program aims to create community-to-community partnerships between the local INBCs in each local community, where multi-stakeholder 7-sector heptamatrix partnerships are already being established locally. So the ideal partners for any INVC should be identified early on in the process, and though many are obvious, because usually there's only one local government, for instance, and possibly only one local learning institution like a university or college, it can get more complicated as partners are identified from the different NGOs and CSOs and other types of local and regional organizations. So these discussions are the first steps required to establish our reverse CTP program, along with all the UnityNet Africa and diaspora country chapters. So for 2022 and beyond, we are planning for Turtle Island going out until the year 2064. So here in North America, Turtle Island, every 6 years, this is being done in alignment with the World Forestry Congress events that happen every 6 years. So 2064 is, of course, 1 year after the African Union Agenda 2063 is expected to be achieved. So the next steps and discussions are happening now with leaders in UnityNet Nigeria and related to the proposed Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Nigeria as well, which I'm hopeful that we can partner with the Global Women's Development Network to organize, possibly for next October 4th to 16th, 2022, which really could be, we're hoping, as a launching point for the project proposal to create food forests in local communities all across Africa as part of the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration 2021 to 2030, which I included the link earlier. So again, starting in Nigeria, because back in late October, there was a proposal to establish a Climate Smart Victory Fruit Orchard Enterprise Learning Program in Africa for youth and FFHE in Nigeria, which I believe can be also eventually replicated across all of Africa and even in other countries around the world. So with that, Climate Smart Victory Fruit Orchard ELP, as we call it, for youth and FFHE, this could also be tied to the 42-year Lake Ontario Great Lakes NOAA Spark Initiative project plan for the Greater Toronto Area in Canada and North America, Turtle Island, and which can start easily in the first year in Nigeria with the Single Yams and Climate Smart Food Security project that another member in Nigeria actually suggested that we start right away. It could be done this month. May have even already been initiated in their own local community. So we'll have to get an update about this so that we can learn more about some of the progress that's being made already in Nigeria. But we will continue. I just wanted to move on after these recent updates, just to summarize that we are a humanitarian entrepreneurship learning program supporting, focused on the youth, the educators, the decision makers in local communities, delivering learning programs and community engagement processes with a strong emphasis on girls as leaders in their communities and also their homes and families as per SDG 5. Gender equality, with the goal of the business and the network eventually to establish what we call a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is just a fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually, collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we're establishing is a network that includes platforms for delivering education, training, awareness raising, for open idea and cultural exchange programs, being managed by the Global Unity Business Group. The virtual collaborative network that we're establishing is networked through social media and internet-enabled International Unity Gardens Network, which is in turn supporting a Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value peace education in each of our own local communities. So I just usually leave at the end this sustainability guidelines slide. This was something that was actually provided to us by a gentleman by the name of Mike Nickerson from a project called the Seventh Generation Initiative and Sustainability Project. So Mike is the author of a book called Life, Money, Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Wanted to Stay. And again, I put into the chat some of the links of Mike's extensive work. But at the end of our show today, or at least for the introduction, I wanted to as well recognize our guests. We start with the women, as always,